Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, and thank you for joining us at this Ask the Expert session. Hopefully you have just watched the recording or you have watched the recording earlier today from Nicole Herskowitz, the GM of Product Marketing for Microsoft Teams, talking to us today about all the great new features and announcements coming from Microsoft Teams meetings, calling, devices, and platform. So hopefully you are super excited, and we thank you for taking the time to join us and ask a few more questions. Feel free to ask us anything. We will try to get to as many questions as we can, so feel free to start putting those in the chat. As you can see, I'm joined here by a group of experts, actually from around the world, so thank you all for joining us today. And we're going to help try to field those questions for you. So again, keep those questions coming and we'll start getting through as many as we can here. First, I want to talk about one of the biggest offers that Nicole announced today, which is FastTrack Rooms and the ability for customers to get 2 rooms at no cost stood up by Microsoft. Lars, are you able to talk to us a little bit more about this offer and what that means for customers?
Thank you for that question, Angela. I will say I think this is one of the most important parts about Ignite is that we not only get to talk about our technology, but what we're doing in terms of great customer offers. Microsoft wants to be in the business of helping ensure that we get customers up and running on our technology, and we do so seamlessly. And we've seen that historically through our service called FastTrack, that has started many years ago with getting customers up and running, for instance, on their cloud migration of mailboxes and SharePoint and whatnot. Well, those FastTrack services have continued to expand. And the exciting part about this announcement is that FastTrack and leveraging our partner ecosystem are going to help customers stand up their first 2 rooms. And that isn't just virtual support. That means on-site, bringing the equipment, the cables, and getting you up and running. And we also have additional services that Microsoft can provide with the service called MTR Premium, which effectively does ongoing management, upgrading, patching of your room. So we really want to be in the business, again, of not just giving these great hybrid experiences, but helping our customers have great experiences. So I hope that helps.
So cool. Where can customers go to find more information on this offer?
Yeah, there is one site that you can go to, which is rooms.microsoft.com. And right at that site, you can fill out your information and be contacted either by your account representative or directly to Microsoft.
Perfect. Please go check that out. That went live today. We've got a lot of questions today around Teams' abilities to do larger meetings and webinar features and functions. And Christina, can you talk to us a little bit more about that momentum and what's coming for Teams?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a bunch of amazing announcements today. To start with, Teams meetings is expanding the ability to reach more attendees. They'll actually be able to host Teams meetings for up to 20,000 people. And not just any type of experience. Teams is customizing the experience, and so when you reach a certain capacity, people are joining in a view-only mode, which means they can't unmute, they can't share their camera, which is ideal when you have 13,000 people in a meeting. So in addition to that, we're adding more webinar capabilities for attendee registration, creating these kind of custom registration pages where you can share out the links and have your attendees register, and then monitor their attendance and their participation during the event with a new engagement dashboard. So those are just a handful of a few things that we have coming. We're also going to be, for all of the devs and admins listening in, we're also going to be enabling API access to the reporting and scheduling data that's going to be associated with the webinars. So lots of good stuff coming.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christina. And a ton of questions today. We've gotten on an upcoming feature that is coming next month around breakout rooms. Va Tang, are you able to speak to that a little bit more for us?
Sorry, I cut out a little bit. Could you repeat that one more time if that was for me?
No, sorry, Va Tang.
Oh.
Yes, around breakout rooms. You may be on mute.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? I should be back.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. We're definitely looking to bring the virtual meeting capability into current meetings experience that will allow users to break the larger meeting into the much smaller portions and allocate users into those groups. That allocation can be done either randomly, or organizers would be able to select actually which user can jump into which room. And I think the most important thing to remember is that's just creating another room space where it is just another meeting, and all the capabilities you have today in the main meeting, they will be available in the breakout room, where the conversation, chat, sharing the files, all that capability. So we will enrich that meeting capability with breakout rooms, and once the organizer decides it's time, they can just easily click the button, literally speaking, and bring everyone them together. And probably the most importantly, that capability will be available over web, over desktop, and on the mobile devices, which is very handy.
Perfect, thank you. And for those that are just joining in, that will be available starting in October. So that'll start rolling out next month. So very soon, highly anticipated feature for us. Now on to some of our platform new capabilities. Vesa, can you talk to us a little bit about the announcements that came out today around Power Automate app for Teams?
All right, thank you. Yes, the Power Automate Pro is going to bring up a new application into Teams, so you can create new power flows directly from within Teams using the very good, excellent templates that you can basically make it really easy to, let's say, to create a welcome message to the new members in a team. And of course, there has been other improvements lately, like you could just start creating actions based on the selected single message in a team. So you can start, let's say, you could create a lead based on the Teams message and just ask for more information from the user, so they can start, you can take that lead to the CRM, for example, or to something else. And of course, so there's lots of new kind of improvements there, but the biggest thing is the approvals, because it's going to, the approvals are coming to the GA, so they will be generally available, so everyone can start making the approvals in Teams instead of doing them inside emails, for example, or going to some other place. So you will have an approval application inside Teams, and so you can see everything you have to have there. So you can bring in your business processes there, so people don't have to switch off the context. I think those are very good highlights on the Power Automate part.
Awesome, thank you so much. We have a question in from our chat for Lars, asking about some of the bandwidth usage for video on Teams, and do we have any update kind of on quality or improvement to Teams? Anything you can share around that?
That's a really great one. So I would say one of the sessions I would really encourage you to watch would be session 151 at Ignite, where we really go much deeper into the technology behind the meeting in terms of audio and video quality, and in operating in low bandwidth networks. We introduced a technology that we referred to as SATN, which effectively with extremely low bandwidth connection can maintain incredibly high fidelity audio. We have other improvements that we talk about with respect to video bandwidth usage. And so just know that while we do tend to talk about a lot of the features features that that we experience in the UI. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes in terms of our overall audio and video fidelity as well.
Great, thank you so much. Vesa, going back over to you again around devices. We had a lot of great announcements around Microsoft Teams Rooms. Is there anything you can share that you kind of want to double down on in terms of what we announced today, and especially what improvements we're making in the meeting room space?
All right, thank you. Again, there was a huge number of announcements. I think one of the interesting ones is the touchless join or touchless experience, where you can use your mobile phone to kind of start the meeting room, for example, so you don't have to go ahead and activate things there. And it will simultaneously join the Surface Hub to the meeting if it's in the room already. So you have this kind of a collaborative joining experience there. And if you think about this COVID era, when people are in a room, the MTR can soon, hopefully, be able to recognize the number of people who are in the room and compare to that to the setting set by admin, so how many people can be safely in that room. So you will have a kind of warning if the room is reaching out to capacity. And of course, the Teams panels are very interesting. They would be on the front door or outside the meeting room, so you can instantly see if the room is available or not. They come with the kind of floor plan, and you can reserve the room from there. So they work the best if there's an MTR already, the Teams room system, Teams room inside the room, because then it can reserve that space and create a Teams meeting there. And something fancy is, of course, the intelligent speakers, so you can kind of speak up and have them to kind of, you can activate the meeting without touching anything, because you just ask Cortana to, hey, let's get started in the room.
Yeah, super cool. If you haven't seen those demos, please go take a look. We do have a devices showcase at aka.ms/Teams devices that you can take a look at our full portfolio of OEMs that we work with across personal and shared devices. You can see those products there and browse for any type of space that you are. So thank you, Vesa. I'm going to stay with you. It looks like there's another question on if there's a feature to easily download lists of members within a team.
Yeah, there, as far as I know, there isn't a built-in feature for that, but that's something that can be very easily done with the Power Automate. So you create a flow, and you get an action, then retrieve the team members or group members, and then you can process that list anywhere you want. You may want to put that to the SharePoint list or CDS, or just write it to the CSV or Excel file, however you want to use it. Because I think that's one of those places where you can be a power user and really use the Power Automate capacities to do things that are not built in there. That's how I would start exploring that one.
Awesome, thank you. Moving over to our calling features, Linus, are you able to talk about some of the call queues and what improvements we're making in the calling front?
Yeah, it's just a kind of cool feature, I think, released, that you can connect call queues to Teams channels. So agents can have a common history and share the history of calls coming into the call queue, and they will be able to sign in and sign out from the channel in the Teams. So earlier it's been hard for keeping history and so on. And on that point, it will be in the Teams admin center, and with help of Power BI, you will have from an admin point of view, you will have more details on calls coming into call queues. So it's really cool. And one feature I like with that is from the channels, you will be able to dial out from the call queue. That's, I know many customers are waiting for. So that's cool features.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, a lot of customers have been asking for some, and we've made some improvements to calling. Lassie, are you able to talk about some of the new calling plans and new countries we've just announced? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's early, or 6 a.m. here in Norway, so and trying not to disturb the house. Well, yeah, I think this came as a surprise to many that Microsoft is still rolling out new countries, because we heard earlier that there wasn't much development on that forum, but they announced that already October 1st, we're getting Austria, Denmark, Italy, Portugal, Sweden, and Switzerland as new calling plans for native integration. And I know a lot of customers who will be happy to see more countries being available from the admin panel and getting direct calling plans from Microsoft. And I hope Microsoft is still investing in even more countries beyond that. But that was the announcement. I would also mention the new calling layout for calling, because the story there around how the contacts, what they look like, how you have to switch between modalities to see different things about the users that you want to reach is now coming together in the calling feature, and I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thanks for waking up early to join us here. Continuing on our calling questions, Chris, any other features you kind of want to call out?
Yeah, there's two.
Looks like you are on mute as well.
Sorry there. There's two specific features that I think that I'd like to call out specifically on the calling. The first was to be able to surface the new calling experience in channels within the team. This tackles the whole scenario about shared voicemails and accessing them easy. The second was a feature from the advanced calling session. If you go to the advanced calling session on demand, it's really worth a watch. And the feature that I really love there is dynamic caller ID, because at the moment the caller ID is static, and people want to change their outgoing caller ID on a call by call basis. This is now possible, and both of these things are listening to customers, what they want, feeding that back in, and developing this really pragmatic functionality and real world, real life situations going forward.
Great, thank you, Chris. And actually sticking with you, we've made some improvements to the Teams admin center. Is there anything also that you can speak to a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, with the Teams admin center, one of the things that I'm looking forward to specifically is the ability to centralize some of your notification settings. I know that this has been quite unwieldy and has been on a user by user basis. Admins would like to see the centralization to be able to manage notification settings in the Teams admin center. I think that is one that's going to come as a great step forward for Teams admins everywhere.
Awesome, thank you. Lars, we have some questions around third-party video and how you can use other third-party apps with Microsoft Teams Rooms. Is that possible?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Often, it is very common for our customers, especially with a lot of economic uncertainty right now. They're asking the question, you know, can we reuse our existing devices in the conference room? Can we use our existing devices in, for instance, paired with Microsoft's Teams calling capabilities? The answer is typically yes. We have, you know, CVI solutions that can help bridge from your from the technology that you've used into Microsoft Teams, and, you know, of course, the other set of announcements that we made, certainly for calling today, is this idea that we are offering a whole new host of low-cost devices as well in situations where that interop will not work. So definitely something to look into further in terms of our ability to support those configurations.
Thank you. And yeah, that is a very, very sought after request that we've had. Adam, we have one question for you. It's a general kind of question around how we're kind of using Teams as a whole. We've kind of dived into some specific workloads, but across just collaborating on a single document, is there a best practice? What's the best way to kind of use this across SharePoint? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as with everything, there's a lot of different ways to do everything, I guess. But I mean, it's very easily, if you just have a document that needs to be shared with more people than the members of that channel or team, so to speak. I mean, it's very easy to share that specific document to groups or other people through SharePoint. And now, as announced as well, it's coming soon, that you can actually do this right from within Microsoft Teams. So, but of course, I mean, if you have a lot of documents that are usually often shared with a lot of people, maybe they should be in a different library that is shared among all these kinds of teams or groups as well. So, for example, a different SharePoint library that is shared among all these teams, or maybe a team that includes all of these people so they can easily collaborate. So you don't have to set up specific permissions for that files.
Great, thank you. I have something just kind of for the group here, since we have a bunch of different experts. In general, we've had a lot of comments and questions around safety. And so as that's top of mind, what are the different ways that Teams is addressing this and allowing controls or admin features and security features? Anyone just open up to some of the things that we've announced here? Did someone come off mute there? Sorry. Nope. Can you hear me okay? Any other features specific to security or safety that we want to kind of mention to the group?
I can jump in there, Angela.
Sure.
So, you know, one of the things that I think has been a really important principle for us, for Teams meetings in particular, is this idea that at one end of the spectrum, that if we want people to be able to join a meeting, to be able to do so very easily, you know, we have a common requested feature, which is you enter a code and you join a meeting. Of course, the very other end of that spectrum is, what if there's a meeting that regardless, you know exactly who you want invited to that meeting, and that even if it were to be forwarded or the link were to be provided to other people, those other people would not be allowed to enter your meeting, and to prevent a lot of, you know, the very, you know, serious set of kind of disruptions that we've seen globally. And so I would say, you know, Microsoft Teams is committed to, depending on where you are within your organization, and looking to say, hey, for a particular, you know, public or external facing, we want to encourage more participation, or whether this is really a, you know, a very much a trusted audience, and we don't want anyone else using, you know, Azure AD and identity to be able to attend it. We're going to enable both of those scenarios, in addition to all of the existing protections that we have today around authentication. So I would just say that is very much the direction and a differentiation that I think Microsoft and our trusted brand and experience can deliver.
Awesome, thank you. Chris, did you want to add on to anything there?
Yeah, again, going back to I guess better controls for the administrator. There are two features that I think there was referenced within the Teams management blog that was recently released earlier today. The first is bulk policy management, which is making it easier for admins to be able to assign policies in the Teams admin center across large swathes of their organization. I think this will go down really well in the enterprise to make it easier if you want to assign a custom policy, say to 200, 300 users at a time. The second is a new RBAC role, which is the Teams device admin. I think this is going back to principle of least privilege, and so it's another admin role to use with the Teams admin center if you are just managing your devices, and that's really critical, particularly amongst your Teams administrators. You want to be able to get those admin permissions right in order to be able to manage your Teams instance. So those two features I think are really key, and administrators will be really happy with those ads.
Awesome, thank you. And then Kumar, I think, did you have anything else to add on the security features? You may be on mute as well if you're trying to speak. No worries. We will move on and we'll continue to answer those in the chat for you. For Linus, going back to Microsoft Teams Room, someone has asked if there's a way to auto join scheduled meetings, and if not, is that on the roadmap?
I haven't seen anything about auto joining meetings, but in the Microsoft Teams Room, you are able to use something called proximity join. And you can set the MTR devices to auto answer the MTR, the proximity join calls. That's the only auto answer right now.
Great. And how about coordinated join? Can you talk a little bit about that with Surface Hub?
I haven't tested it, but yeah, sure. The idea is that you will be able to use the Surface Hub together with the Microsoft Teams Room, so you can use the Surface Hub as an extra display and displaying content on that, and use it as a whiteboard in the same meeting as you're joined in the MTR device.
Right, right. Super cool if they're in the same room and they just recognize one another and able to coordinate on that. So that's also been a feature that's been long sought after. So I think in the last couple minutes, I'm going to toss it back to Lars, who helped us kick off our session here. And we talked about a lot of great meeting features as well, new additional layouts with together mode, meeting recaps, breakout rooms. Any that really stand out for you or that you know that are really anticipated?
Well, you know, for those of you who kind of tuned in to watch one or more sessions today, there's really one thing that I think we would all agree that we need, which is less meetings, to be honest. We're all in a lot of online meetings, and certainly the ones that we want to join are great, but I think what really has differentiated Microsoft 365 is the fact that so much of work and so much of achievement happens before the meeting happens and after. And we want to make sure that all of those things are really tied together. So the emphasis on before the meeting, for instance, the idea that all of a pre-read or an agenda and all of that preparation comes out in advance, and is usually hard work goes into that, and that can be a part of the discussion. We've talked about all of the great things that we're doing to reduce meeting fatigue during the meeting, like together mode, dynamic stage, the custom presentation views and layouts that I think are going to be really exciting. But then think about the idea of the post-meeting follow-up and post-meeting recap summary, which is even if you had to miss that meeting because you were doing something else and being productive, that you could get the transcript of that, the presentation. If you were flagged for an action item, you could see that and you could search through the transcripts. It's almost like you could be in the meeting without ever having to go to it. And it's that kind of productivity and that change in mindset that I think in a time when we all spend far too much time in meetings, that will offer a lot of hope and optimism in terms of the way we move forward. So to me, that is kind of one of the most exciting things that we can all really get around in this time and stage right now.
Thanks so much. I think we can all agree we could do with less meetings. But we on the Teams team, we love meetings, so we can't say that. We enjoy this very much. I want to thank everybody for attending the session and for bringing in all the questions. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you again soon. Please check out, there's many other sessions around Teams and other ones that are diving deeper into certain topics, so please take a look at this catalog. A lot of replays happening over the next 24 hours before Ignite concludes. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you to my SMEs here tonight. We appreciate it. Have a good rest of the show. Thank you, everybody.